Okay, so here's a little video diary and hopefully a little bit more of a explanation as to what happened today. I'm at my Airbnb right now, so just out in the yard. Uh, and I realized I did not take much video or pictures or anything of the second half of yesterday because it was just really stressful. So what happened was we turned on to a different road, a highway, a normal state highway like any other highway I'd been on in Georgia. And it just so happened that this highway took me into Columbus, which was a little bit bigger town. But it was, when I turned onto it, I was like, yeah, a good 20 miles out from Columbus. And also, that highway went past a big army base that's in the area. So I guess what I didn't know was that it was going to be so busy. And honestly, there's no way for me to know when a highway or a route is going to be bad or good when it comes to traffic. I can kind of tell on Google Maps, but not really. On Google Maps, I kind of like, what do I want to say? I look at the different parts of the roads to see if there's shoulders more than anything. And then if there happens to be a lot of cars on the Google, the street view, then I might think that that meant there was traffic, but I don't know. So I turned onto this road, and as soon as I turned onto the road, there were great big logging trucks turning on, whatever. So that first kind of had me worried because I'm like, oh no, logging trucks. Anyway, but the good news was it was 4 lanes, so 2 lanes on each side, so that's good. Absolutely no shoulder. But when there's 2 lanes on my side, normally people get over and there's room and no big deal. So that was all going fine. It was hilly. The trucks were getting over. That was all fine. And then we kind of came close to the army base. And at that point, it also went down to 2 lanes in many places. Sometimes it would pop up into an extra lane when I was going up a hill, which was nice. But a lot of the part was 2 ways, or just 2 lanes total. And it just forced me, because there was no shoulder, I'm riding out in the road and people would have to slow down and go around me, hopefully. Once we got near the army base, the traffic really picked up, and then we were getting closer to Columbus. Very loud bird. And the traffic got much worse. And I should say, people are going very fast, or at least it always seems like it to me because I'm going slow. But mixed in with now all those log trucks were pickup trucks, and everything. It was just everything. It was a lot of traffic. And so it's just a lot to watch. When you're on a bike, I can't really describe the elevated stress level or the tenseness. My shoulders could tell you that, but the tenseness that those situations create when I'm out in a lane, there's nowhere really for me to go, and there's a lot of traffic. Now, the good part is I've got my radar detector, which tells me when cars are behind me and kind of how fast they're coming. And I've got my rear view mirror that I use all the time to see. What happens is the radar thing will go off, and then I'll look down at my mirror to see, is the person getting over? Is that truck, is that car getting over? And normally they do, and then I just kind of like relax through it, not a big deal. However, in this particular situation, there was so much traffic that the radar was just going off constantly, and there were situations where people didn't get over very far or at all, and most people were pretty good. It's like the 15% that aren't. And after that it was a long period too, after that prolonged time of being just in that tense mode and watching these cars just come by me and by me and by me and so close to me, and seeing everything like in the rear view of like what's happening up behind me and what could happen, I think it just makes me really, really stressed out. So at some point they were coming so close and there were so many, I just rode off the road because I needed to stop. I was so wound up and I was just trying to stay alive. So I rode off the road. When I did that, it was flat, but it was, bumpy and grassy. And when I did that, my automatic accident detection on my computer went off. And then, of course, it starts like alarm, and I had to figure out how to turn it off, which I haven't had to do before. Anyway, that was harder than you would think, because it's not just like press a button and it's off. You had to like do something, I don't know. Anyway, I figured it out. So emergency texts did not go out to all of my emergency contacts, which is good. But I basically just kind of pulled over. I was really hyperventilating, and I just tried to calm down my breathing and just calm down. So I sat there for a bit along the side of the road with all this traffic just piling by me. I was off on a safe part, but I had to get back on the bike and keep going because I didn't really have, there were no alternative ways at that point. I was in it and I couldn't get out of it. And so I got back on the bike and rode again. Eventually, Vicky came back to look for me because I had stopped, and she saw that in the tracking. So she came back to look, and we met up, and I told her to pull over, and I could just kind of try to get everything under control again, get some water, get a little bit of food maybe. I didn't really eat much or drink much because I was really tense the whole second half. But anyway, so then we got back on, and then Vicky was following me, which was great, except I was really worried about her because she was following me with her blinkers up, with her flashers on, and I was just worried, and I'm watching my rearview mirror the whole time, making sure she's okay. But because of that, people did get over. They didn't know why. I'm sure they were cussing her out the whole time until they would pull out, and then they'd see me. So should probably get a sign that says biker ahead for the queens. Anyway, so that was good. There were a couple of times where I had dogs coming out, but they just scared me. They happened to be on chains, but they scared the crap out of me because, you're just another thing to kind of flip you out. And then she went ahead because things were kind of going a little bit better and a little bit less traffic once we got by the Army base. And then I had just relaxed like a little bit. And I had someone that absolutely, I don't think they saw me, because I don't think they did it maliciously, but they did not move 1 inch. And so honestly, they were probably less than a foot from me when they passed me fast. And I didn't see it coming. I wasn't looking. I didn't see it coming. So when they came by so close to me, I was just like, what the hell? Anyway, there were some cuss words. I was mad. The first reaction for me is always like get really pissed off, and then I get really freaked out because it's like I realize that was dangerous. But anyway, so that wasn't good. It was just a really hard road, and there's no way for me to know that until I get on them. And once I'm on them, I can't really easily get off them. There were no other routes. Whenever I could get off, I did. But we looked at alternative routes. There's no other routes. So I will do a video at some point on how I come up with these routes, because even though the resources out there are really good as far as building routes, they're not perfect, and there's still a lot of work that goes into building these routes and figuring out what's the best way to take. So anyway, I'm just really happy that I survived. That was the closest calls I've had, I would say, when it comes to accidents. Yeah. And I'm back on the bike again tomorrow. Sometimes I really wonder why I do this. Every time I go out, I don't think about it every time, but now, like when something nearly happens, it does make me think about it. But I do know that this is really dangerous, and that it could be the last time I do something. And I accept that. Yeah. But I figure, you know what? You might as well live life to the fullest. I'm single. I have no kids. I think I would maybe be more cautious if I did have those other things in my life. But I just feel like you should really live and enjoy this life that you have. And if it's cut short, it's cut short. But I know that I have lived an amazing life, and I've done so many things that I've wanted to do, and so many things that people will never get to do. So I take that and I relish that, and if something happens, something happens. I've had a lot of fun. Okay, onward to food and beer.